I've required something on the final project where you put in a tabulated table. It only mentions one little paragraph about tabs in this book, which is quite surprising to me because tabs have been such an important part of every textbook I've ever used. And I feel like this book has covered really quite in-depth things and more advanced things than any other book has, and yet it overlooked tabs and it also overlooked templates, which are two really important things. So I felt that we needed to have a tabulated table in this research paper, and so here I could give you a demo of this. On the ruler, if you can't see your ruler, you would go under View and make sure that you have a check mark under Ruler, and then you can see your ruler. Over here to the left side, it looks like a little L. An L represents a left tab. So on the ruler, if you wanted to start your tabulated table in about a ½ inch, just click right on the ruler and it sets that left tab. And a left tab just is a normal tab that lines up on the left. Then as you scroll through this, the next one is an upside down T, and that represents a center tab. I could just randomly set the tab wherever I like it. If I do it looks like a backward L, that would be a right tab. Maybe I want that. That means it will line up on the right and it will line up on the right and go left as I type. And so if you ever want to move that tab and it isn't in the right place, you can just drag it either to the left or the right. If you want to delete the tab completely, or if you happen to set one by mistake, you can just drag the tab off. If I look at another tab option, there's one with an upside down with a T. So that means it would line things up with a decimal point. So I'm just randomly setting some tabs. So when you type your tabulated table, you set your tabs where you think you would like them, hit the tab key, and type your name, for example. Then if I hit the tab, this one's going to be a center, so let's say South Jordan. So when I look for a tabulated table, I only want to see one tab hit in between each column. Don't hit multiple tabs to get to where you want. So this way, if I have a large number or a small number, wherever the decimal point is, it will line up on the decimal point. See how that is a right tab that's going right to left? And then I press enter, type tab, and then proceed to type the rest of mine. Notice how it's centering. Maybe this one is just 10 cents. And this one would be June. Okay, when you're through, you can adjust these tabs, but it's important that you highlight it all and then say, maybe I want this tab. I think it would make it easier to see the spacing if I had the paragraph marks off. You want to visually make it look like it has equal spacing in between. So we have it about equal between the left and the right margin, so because this one starts a 1/2 inch in and this one starts a 1/2 inch from the other margin. So you have to be careful. You need to make sure that this is selected. Maybe I'll move this center one a little bit to the left. This one a little bit until it looks even. When I taught high school, the state gave a test and these columns were measured so that they had to be exact, and we had to do a mathematical formula even to make sure that every space between the columns were exact. I think we're more in a visual eyeball type situation where we line things up a little bit as long as it looks good. And so there, that looks fairly even between the longest ones in each column. So then if you wanted to clear those tabs, a shortcut to get into this tab set dialog box is to just double click one of those tabs and we could clear all of them. A handy thing, if you had to create a program and list people who were going to be on the program, I could say I want a right tab set at the right margin. So maybe the right margin would be about 6.5, and then make sure it's right and then set it. But if I wanted to have it fill in with dot leaders, then I would put some dots, and that means the dots will go in front of this right tab. So if I were going to set another tab, like a left tab at just a 1/2 inch in, I could do 0.5 left tab, but I wouldn't want the dot leaders on this left tab, or it would go out left into the margin. So then you could set those. So you can set multiple tabs, then do OK. Notice that I have a left tab and a right tab. So if I hit tab, I could say Tom Jones will be conducting. Now that didn't give me the dot leader in front of it. So if I wanted to go edit this tab, I must not have gotten the tab. I must have gotten an indent. There we go. The 6.5 tab, we would check that and see it doesn't have the dot leaders selected. So I would do the dot leaders, set, and then OK. Then that put the dots in. If I hit tab again, I could say Karen Young will be speaking, and maybe Bill Taylor will be singing. If you wanted to create a form and you wanted some lines to type on, so maybe you were asking for your address and you wanted a solid line, you could go into the tab set dialog box, and that is under paragraph and tabs to get into that dialog box. And then you could set a right tab. Here's my right tab at the margin, and click the solid line and do set, and then OK. Then when you hit tab, it draws a line for you. So I could maybe if I wanted a bunch of lines, I'll just take off this tab by just dragging it onto the screen, and then tab, and look how fast I can draw solid lines, and they all end equally instead of just holding down that underline key and drawing a line. So tabs are really nice, and the whole secret is trying to set the tabs, kind of guess where they are, type in your table with only one paragraph mark in between each one, and then when you're in the table, select it and slide your tabs until they look even. If you want to do anything like dot leaders or solid lines, those can't be done from the ruler, but they have to go into the tab set dialog box where you can do that. You can change it all back to the default, which is a tab is set every 5 spaces, or you could change the default tab so that they're set at a different thing. So that is tabs in a nutshell, and I think that they are too important not to ever mention it. So that concludes the lecture on tabs.